Hello there. A lot of you have asked about the gear that you might need for fly fishing, and I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video of all the gear that we're talking about today on this video. You can also email me at flyfishdan@gmail.com if you have any questions. This video is really dedicated to somebody who started fly fishing, but now they want to know and they want to learn about the different gear. So I thought I'd literally take the same pack of stuff with me fishing every single time that I go out. So let's go through my pack and we'll kind of discover the things that are important to me and what I bring when I go fly fishing, almost every trip. So the first thing you can see, I've got a pack. You can have a vest, you can have a fanny pack. I like the sling packs because it carries a lot of stuff. I even have a bottle of water in here as well, which I recommend you bringing. So I like the sling pack because it's ergonomic, it's comfortable to wear, and it's just my preference. But you know, it's not, one is not right over the other. I just prefer this sling pack from Simms. I've got a net, a hellbender net. As you can see, this webbing here is catch and release webbing. A lot of the fisheries that I fish, like this one right here, is a catch and release fishery. So it's nice to have this type of catch and release netting because it's just easier on the fish. So I've got sunglasses, and they were just on my face a moment ago. So you want to have a pair of sunglasses with you, polarized, so you can see into the water is important. So this first pack, I do carry a microfiber cloth. You know, who knows when you're going to need a little bit of a towel to wipe something off. For me, usually it happens to be a lens that I've got to wipe off. But generally, I always have a microfiber towel with me because you just never know when you're going to use it. You can see I've got a lot of fly boxes. And I have a lot of fly boxes because I need to cover a lot of bases. So some of these fly boxes, you can see, are kind of messy. These are articulated leeches, so they're kind of hard to keep in a box and make them look neat. But I have a box dedicated to big streamers. I have a box dedicated to all my small nymphs. I have several boxes dedicated to dry flies. You can see kind of a magnetic box here, dedicated to dry flies. I mean, you get the picture, right? Bigger dry flies right here. So I kind of have my own little system, smaller leeches and other type of little streamer patterns here. So I've got a ton of boxes in it, just because typically I don't want to have that moment, because I've had it in the past to where I left the box at home and all of a sudden something is happening on the river and I happen to leave that box at home because I thought there's no way, right? There's no way this particular hatch is going to happen. Then I've been very disappointed not to have those flies. So that's kind of why I overpack. So if we go into my other zip container here, you know, you always have to have some Tylenol, some Advil, and a couple of Pepsi in case you get heartburn, which I do. I have some split shot here. I don't often use split shot. If I'm fishing a big river or really deep hole and I need to get down, I want to have split shot at the ready. Lip balm, right, with a little SPF in it. I have forceps here. As you can see, they've got a little cutting device, so you're going to need that, otherwise you're using your teeth. I have eye drops, and a lot of times I have eye drops because I have contacts and sometimes they get dried out, so it's important to have some eye drops with you. And that's just, you know, again, what I do. I have a little tool here. This was my dad's, so it is a little nipper tool, but it's also right here, it has a nail knot tool, just in case you've got a welded loop that breaks, right? You probably want to have a tool like this so you can tie a leader onto the floating line. I've had some welded loops fail in the past, and if you don't have this tool, it's really difficult to keep fly fishing without a nail knot tool. Some extra contacts, right, in case one folds in my eye or lose one. I've got a file. So a lot of times it's nice to have a little file like this, because inevitably you're going to get stuck on a sharp rock and you'll get your fly back, but you'll notice that the point of that fly is a little bit bent, and you're going to need something to kind of straighten it back out. Otherwise, you're going to miss some hookups because you're going to have a dull hook, right? So this is a nice thing to have. I don't use it very often, but there's been occasions to where I needed to sharpen the tip of a hook because I bent it out. And here's some more lip balm. Speaking of which, I need to, that's kind of nice. It's kind of banana, sunbum. I've been putting that on. So that kind of covers that. Now, if we look at the next, this is where I've got a lot of stuff. So I have pretty much tippet for days, right? So I've got 5X tippet, 4X tippet, 3X tippet, and 2X tippet, generally what I bring when I'm trout fishing. And then you'll notice that I've got 5X again, 4X, 3X, 2X in fluorocarbon. A lot of times if I'm fishing streamers or I'm fishing really toothy fish, I'll switch to fluorocarbon. Sometimes if I'm fishing a hopper dropper setup, I might have nylon tapered leader and or tippet, but then for the dropper, I'll use a fluorocarbon because it just sinks a little faster. It has a tendency to just be a little less visible. It's almost invisible in water. So it really depends on what type of fishing that you're doing, the water clarity, how toothy are the fish, if you decide to go with a fluorocarbon or just a regular vinyl tippet. So I have both. I've got a couple of different dry shakes. So I've got the typical dry shake here, and then I've got the Flyagra. I use this because Flyagra, I mean, it really works. It works exceptionally well on keeping dry flies up all day long. And then I also have some of the traditional loon gel. It just really depends what I'm fishing. If I'm going to use the Flyagra or I'm going to use the loon, I like to have a couple of options. And then I've got way too many, but I've got a lot of tapered leaders, right? I've got 5X, 3X, 4X. Again, I have it in both. I've got it in both nylon and fluorocarbon. So I just got a lot of extra tapered leaders because you just never know. And then I've got a sink tip here just in case I need that. And again, more leaders. I have a lot of extra tapered leaders just because typically you're gonna get them all knotted up, and I just don't like to be without. This is probably a little overkill, but it's kind of what I prefer. I also have some tippet rings in here as well on the rare occasion that I decide that I want to use a tippet ring over tying a double surgeon's loop. So that pretty much covers everything that's in this pack. Look over here, we've got a couple fly rods, but if you also look down here, I've got this rod holder. So that rod holder that I have there has really increased my productivity when I'm out there fishing. And the reason why it's increased my productivity is because I can always have two setups at the ready. Instead of taking the time to set up an entire different setup with one rod, I've got one rod ready to go with the dry and another rod ready to go with the streamer, and I can switch back and forth. That has really increased my fish productivity because I'm not spending the time constantly changing. So it allows me to do a quick change. And occasionally, you know, when you're in places like this, there's a lot of trees and branches. You have to be careful that you don't get things hung up. But the convenience of having this third hand by O-Pros far outweighs the occasional inconvenience of snagging it with your other line or getting it stuck in a tree. So that's part of the reason why I do that. And now you can get a wading staff. So I've been nursing a sore back lately, so you might have noticed that I've been using a wading staff. I've got a magnet here because a lot of times I just stick it to another magnet that's on my wader when I'm fishing, so it's always with me. Sometimes it falls off and drops, but I haven't lost it yet, so that's good. But I just got a regular hiking pole. This hiking pole might cost, I don't know, 30 bucks, I think. If you look at some of the wading staffs that are out there, you know, they can be $150. I have not ever used a wading staff from Sims or any other of the big companies out there that make them to really say whether or not they're worth the money. So I can tell you though, a little inexpensive hiking pole has done the trick for me. But I imagine probably having the ability to, you know, kind of collapse it all together and store it really easily might be easier than having something that takes a lot of effort to store it, and then even when it is collapsed, it's still pretty long. All right, so that pretty much sums up everything that's in my gear bag. And I hope this gives you a little bit of inspiration on some of the things that I have and what you might want to put in your own gear bag when you're fishing. I have a tendency to overpack, so you don't need to do what I do. I want to have everything I need just in case, right? You just never know. That's why I carry a lot of stuff. All right, well, if you need a little help with your fly fishing cast, check out this video right here. After 8 minutes, you'll get that fly line a little bit further out a little bit further than you are today. All right, everybody, till the next time, fish on.